Hey guys, welcome to another Momentous Life video. I'm excited you're here because I've got a topic today that, it hits pretty close to home with me, and I'm guessing it will with you too. So hey, this is your first time checking out the Momentous Life channel. Let me just kind of quickly share with you what this channel is all about. You see, I believe that God created us not to lead a boring, just regular old life, but to have a life that is momentous. And that word momentous, it simply means a decision or an event or a change in your life that is of great importance, especially when it comes to the future. And I think that God, if we listen to Him carefully, and if we pay close enough attention, I think that He gives us momentous moments all the time. He gives us moments with others where what we have to say and what we do, I believe it has the potential to make an incredible impact in the lives of those all around us. But and this is something that I'm learning over and over. And we can really only lead a truly fulfilling life, a momentous life, if we have God at the very center of it. And how we do that is by applying what the Bible says we're supposed to do and not to do to our lives. These guidelines that the Bible gives us for leading a momentous life, leading a life where we're happy and we feel fulfilled. So one of the areas that I've been thinking about lately for my life, and really more specifically an area that I think has a direct effect on my relationship with God, is what I choose to watch. So I'm wondering, do any of you guys remember the old kids kind of church song, Be Careful Little Eyes? So if you're like around my age, and you grew up in church, then I know that you know that song. Now, if you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, so it's an old church song for kids that says, be careful little eyes what you see, be careful little ears what you hear, be careful little hands what you do, little feet where you go. And then it asks why should we be careful? Because the Father up above is looking down in love. As I'm thinking about it, feels kind of creepy that God's always watching us, but no, it's really not creepy. So what does this old church song for kids have to do with anything? Well, here's what I've been thinking about really a lot. Something that's had an impact on my life as I've been thinking about it, as God's been bringing it to my mind, is should it matter what we see, what we hear, what we do, and where we go? I think it should, but we really live in a world that tells us it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we see or what we hear, what we do, or where we go. And here's something I want you to think about. If you had to come up with just kind of a Mount Rushmore of your favorite TV shows, what would they be? Like in your mind, what are the best shows out there? What are the maybe 3 or 4 shows that you've just binged watched on Netflix? Let me know in the comments below what some of your favorite shows are. For me, shows that I could just watch anytime, or shows like The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad's one of them, The Office. Like those are 3 that I was thinking about just popped into my head. But let me know in the comments what some of your favorite shows are. And really, that's one of the cool things about services like Netflix. If I want to watch an entire show, like all of the seasons, like at once, and they're all there on Netflix, like I can do that. You can do that. And I'm guessing that you've probably done that at some point. And that's what's fun about it. If you've got a day where you don't have anything else to do, you don't have anything planned, you don't have anywhere to be, it's just a good day to be inside, like that's one of the fun things. Like it's awesome to just binge watch a season of a show, or sometimes an entire show. It's something that's really fun to do. But have you ever stopped and thought about what it is that you're watching? like what you are literally seeing and hearing. Have you ever thought about the kind of language that you're hearing or the images that you're seeing? Which, you might be saying it, might be thinking to yourself like, hey, guess what? I'm an adult and I can watch what I want. And you're right. Like if you're an adult and you're watching it, like you can watch whatever you want. But does that mean that you should? And so here's something to think about, especially since so many people have gotten rid of cable, over the last few years and are watching streaming services like Netflix more and more. Have you ever noticed how many shows on Netflix are rated TVMA? So TV mature. They're for mature audiences. Like especially, Netflix's own shows. Like it feels like everything that they make for adults is rated like TV mature. And here's kind of the thing with streaming services, like where they're different than cable. So TVMA can mean just about anything, like bad and filthy language, nudity, like sex scenes, you name it. So if I'm watching a show that has a mature rating on like NBC, I kind of know what to expect. They're not going to show really any nudity, and the content and the language, it's going to be a little more graphic than a show that says rated TV 14. But that is definitely not the case with Netflix. I mean, it feels like it's the Wild West where just like anything goes. Any topic, any word, any image, like it all goes. So like I said, it sure seems like just about every Netflix original show is rated TV mature, right? And that's because they pretty much are. Like back in 2017, just a couple years ago, so 34 out of 37 the Netflix original dramas had a TVMA rating. So that's 92%. And just 2018, like 61% of all Netflix original shows had, 61% of them had a TVMA rating, which, might not seem like it's that high. But when you factor in that, they make kids shows too, like that's well over half of what they're putting out has bad language and bad graphics and images and all of that, sex scenes and everything. So that leaves us with a question, like, what does it matter? Well, I think it matters because I believe as we start to watch these shows that really we're going down a slippery slope. And here's why I think that. First of all, I think it starts off pretty innocently. Like for me, it's easy to choose a show that has like a mature rating over something else because I think the show's, subject content, like what it's dealing with and talking about and everything, is going to be like more real than something with a TV 14 rating or whatever. And I think to myself, well, I'm an adult. I can handle some language or whatever it is that they're going to show. It's not going to affect me. And that's where, honestly, I believe we make a pretty big mistake. Like, sure, the world around us, the world that we live in is full of bad language and sex is pretty much everywhere. But should it be in my home? Should it be within an earshot of my kids? Or should it be on my phone? Should it be filling my head at home when I have a choice of what I watch and see and hear? So ultimately, what we watch or listen to is up to each person. But here are three things that I noticed happening in my life when I would watch shows on a regular basis that had that mature rating. So the first one is the language is in a show with a TVMA rating. For a long time I thought language, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't have an effect on me. And personally, like I've really never had an issue with cussing, with like bad language. It wasn't a part of my family life growing up at all. And honestly, it's something that seems just so out of place for me. If I were to cuss, like it would just feel so unnatural. But I started noticing a trend with myself that I think has a direct connection with watching shows with this rating. So when I would get angry or frustrated over something, basically those times where we're in the heat of the moment, these, bad words, quote unquote, would just pop into my head. They pop into my mind. I'm not saying that I would say them out loud, but it bothered me that they were coming into my mind in those moments. And here's the deal. If I'm going to live a momentous life, those kinds of words can't have any place in my mind. They can't be in my heart. They can't be on my lips. Like, they have no place in my life. And you might say, well, why? Why does that matter? Well, it's because the Bible says so. There are a lot of verses in the Bible that talk about the importance of the words we use. And I'll actually link some of those down in the description below if you'd like to look at those. But here's a verse that really has spoken directly to me, where I was at with these words coming into my mind when I did not want them there or expect them to be there. So it's a verse that's found in the book of Psalms. It's Psalm 19 that says, "May these words of my mouth and this meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, Lord, my rock and my redeemer." So while, like I said, I don't really have a struggle saying these bad words out loud, it became apparent to me that these words, that they were in my heart. And by watching these shows, really, I had been meditating on them, and I know that that cannot be pleasing in God's sight. And then the second thing I noticed happening in my life was that it seemed like I was being more consumed by these types of shows. So for me, I was drawn to shows that seemed, more real or grittier, if that makes sense. For you, maybe you're not drawn to TV dramas, you're drawn to comedies, and maybe they have, use foul language, or the things that they're talking about just, isn't really appropriate. Like, we've all got our weaknesses, right? But it feels like these kinds of shows just seem to be more addictive. Like, what they're talking about, what they're dealing with, the images that they're showing, like, they're more addictive. And as a result, like, we watch a lot more of them. And then as a result, like, we pump our minds full of things. So these words and images and phrases, we fill our mind with those things that don't really have any business being there. And so there's a small book here in the Bible, it's called Titus. And in chapter 2, it tells us, "For the grace of God has appeared, bringing salvation for all people, training us to renounce ungodliness and worldly passions, and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in the present age." So I really think that if we want to have a momentous life, like, we have to start paying attention to and being careful of what we fill our minds with. And so then the last area that it seems like gets affected by these types of shows for me is with my family. So the more I've thought about it, the more obvious it's become that watching, hours and hours of Netflix or things on YouTube just isn't good for us. It's not. And in a lot of cases, I think we separate ourselves from those around us because we're always glued to our phones or to our tablets or whatever is giving us some entertainment for a while. So, like, if you think about, the time that you spend with your family, I think it's pretty typical of the average family anymore for everyone to be, watching their own show or video or playing games or whatever, all by themselves. Like, it happens. We can all be in the same room, but all be in really our own little world and ultimately separated from each other because of our phones, because of the shows that we're watching. So what's the answer? Like, how do we fix this? Should we even fix this? Yeah, I definitely think it's something worth evaluating in our lives. And I think really that's where it starts, by simply asking God to reveal to you if this is an area in your life that needs to change. And that's where it started with me. And it's really changed my outlook on what I watch and what I listen to. And so I encourage you this week, today even, like, for you to really, really think about this idea, because I think it has a huge impact on our lives, what we watch and what we listen to. So I'd encourage you to pray about that, to think about that, to study for yourself what God says about what we should see, what we should listen to, the words that we should use. And I think that if you really do stop and think about it, you'll find that what you watch and listen to has an effect on you leading a momentous life. Because remember, God doesn't want us to have an ordinary life where we're doing and saying and thinking what everybody else is all around us. He wants us to lead a special kind of life that has an impact that people notice all around us. Listen, I hope you have a great day and a good week, and I really appreciate you stopping by, hanging out. I'd love for you to like the video, for you to subscribe and do all those things, and I will see you in the next video.